Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NLCS. Echo Fox took a clean Game 1 in Envy, responding in kind for Game 2. So once again, it is anyone's series as LirA, Grig, and Keith are getting the band back together here for Game 3.
And it's hard to read too much into the different games because, great, Echo Fox smashed them in Game 1, then they subbed in 3/5 of a new team, and they got slammed. And whether it's the fault of the players or the comp or how they played, it's anyone's guess. I think it's a mix of everything, really. But we'll see if Echo Fox can actually perform with this roster that did so well in game number 1.
I think for me, I'm very excited for the potential of the full 5-man subbing. We already had an unprecedented 3 here in today. I believe that is the most. I think we've never had more than 1. Maybe. I mean, if you exclude Echo Fox from the revolving door substitution conversation, I think no team has ever subbed in more than 1 player at once in the NLCS. So
what if all the subs were just based off rock, paper, scissors behind stage?
Maybe they 1v1?
Yeah,
in the break?
It's like, rock, paper, scissors, whoever wins gets to go on a stage.
What? Do like a Lee Sin
Like
or
that.
something. Maybe. I mean, at that point, that's about as good as a guess as anyone, I think, at this point, because it is tough to say exactly what Echo Fox are doing and why, but they kind of like it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I think a lot of people are kind of asking, where's Froggen, right? I think that's one of the questions. As nothing against Damonte, I think he has had some really good games for himself, but Froggen is the team superstar. Rick Fox called him the team's Michael Jordan, right? And this is a guy who a lot of people have ranked very highly as mid laners in the NLCS. I know Jat released his updated tier list today. I think he had him in 3rd place, just below Jensen and Bjergsen. And this is a guy who's not even seeing play today. I believe he didn't play at all yesterday either. So not at all this weekend at a time when Echo Fox needs wins if they want to try to get in the playoffs. Like, it's not like you have a lot of games to give. This is a team that's near the bottom of the standings, and you're not playing your best player.
Yeah, and I can, give your star player a break. Maybe he just needed some time off, but certainly a awkward timing, no matter the reason, to be experimenting more. So we'll see if the pattern holds, of course, moving into the rest of these weeks. But right now, Echo Fox's big concern is just winning this game and taking the series after starting it off so well. Envy, I think, well righted the ship after game number 1, which looked very uncharacteristic for that team. Game 2 is the Envy we've seen performed very well so far this summer, and they'll be looking to take that into Game 3. I
mean, LirA got a very good aggressive jungler. We heard the guys on the desk talking about it, that Nunu kind of had these losing lanes, and LirA is on the better dueling jungler, and now you have Shen in a 2v2 that he can't win, and he also can't win the 1v1. There was like a lot of problems, I think, with the Echo Fox draft, and that's where they felt like most of the issues were in Game 2. I think that there's certainly something to be said about the play, as there was certainly some poor plays there too, but Envy definitely want to get LirA on a proactive jungler, want him to be aggressive, and that's the kind of game they played in Game 2.
This is the thing, right? Envy, it's not tricky for me to figure out exactly why they win in games. They kind of do 1 or 2 things, but they do them very well.
And the fact of the matter is, if you're adding Syndra to the ban list here, now Rek'Sai and Elise are both open, right? So they can actually, the Elise is going to get banned away, so they don't want that to be first picked. But we could see Rek'Sai grabbed up. I definitely think we're going to see Rek'Sai grabbed up now that Kalista has actually been taken as the first pick. You can go for something like a Lee Sin here as well. You can go for those other aggressive junglers if you want it for LirA. But that being said, Rek'Sai matches up very well in the 1v1 with Lee Sin, so traditionally that's kind of the side of the matchup you want. But we've seen that Envy doesn't always care as much about having LirA on these aggressive junglers as a lot of people maybe think they should.
Well, I think this is certainly a good start for Envy. Take the Thresh away from the Kalista lane, give Hakuho the most contested support globally and one of the best picks right now, and kind of see where you want to go from there. Maybe you decide to put Taliyah right now, because we're happy to take a jungler at a later point.
Yeah, but the question is, will the jungler actually be there, right? Like, that's why I kind of question this. Is Taliyah going to get taken away by Damonte? Like, is it really that much of a contested pick? I don't personally think so. I don't think it's that important, but it depends what your strategy is, right? LirA can certainly play tanks. LirA can certainly go for these other styles, so that is not necessarily the problem. But it's something where he succeeds so often on the aggressive picks.
Well, there's Rakan and Rumble. Pretty early for Echo Fox. Rakan makes sense, pairs nicely with the Kalista, like you used to see on the old Alistar lanes, etc.
And you've kind of now put them in a situation where it's like, well, do you want to try to counterpick the top lane right now before they can ban out some of the answers? Or do you want to go for your jungler? And they do end up getting the Rek'Sai, so picked up a little bit later than I thought, but still in the first round. And now we could see Echo Fox probably throwing their bans towards the top side. There is theoretically a chance it could be Rumble jungle, as we have seen that from time to time. Very rarely, though, in the NLCS. But I am expecting to go top, and Equifox probably should ban out some of the matchups that can be problematic for him. We have seen things like Kled work exceptionally well against Rumble, especially in combination with an early aggressive jungler. If you get that ahead, it can be pretty ugly. Camille and things like this can sometimes work very well also, but it's not something where you sit passively, otherwise Rumble will bully you. You have to be aggressive, and that's why having Rek'Sai is so important.
All right, so it's just Tristana ban actually for Equifox. Kassadin was actually the first ban for Envy. So protecting their bot lane as Envy try and cover this mid is pretty interesting here.
Yeah, it makes sense to try to actually defend that Taliyah pick. Assassins can be very difficult for her to deal with, and if you want to take a split push threat to actually deal with the Rumble, if that's the option that they're going to go for, then banning out a split pusher in the mid lane, a split pusher on the top lane, these sorts of things can make sense. Although the Gnar ban means that Envy thinks there's a chance that this is not actually a top lane Rumble, right? Like they're saying, hey, that could be Rumble jungle or perhaps even Rumble mid, which would be super bizarre. So Equifox must at least have shown some reason that Grig has been playing this or something. Otherwise, you don't ban out a top lane.
Yep, and there's Xayah ban there for Equifox, so just take out 2 ADs. They're probably going to get pushed down maybe to
Ashe, though. I mean, Ashe is still available. Like, he's been loving to play this. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of laughing. It's one of those things where, did they really punish him if he's actually playing on that Ashe? I don't really think that this is accomplishing that much, although Ashe is maybe a bit less safe, you could say, certainly than something like the Tristana or the Xayah, who has kind of this defensive ultimate, but you don't have to play as aggressively because you have the utility of the hawk shot and you have the utility of the engage, and we saw how effective he was able to actually be on it.
Well, it feels like there's something up in this draft. That's Olaf, so that now looks like more of the jungle pick, so Envy may be wasting that Gnar ban here. But I think if you're picking this way, I was going to say you might need an AD mid, but they actually go with Ori instead.
And the fair thing to actually say is that this could have still been a Rumble jungle, when they picked an Gnar, right? But you're saying, okay, well, now we can't have the premier top lane pick, so we'll just put it in top lane, and as long as you're willing to actually flex back and forth, it can be a fine ban from Envy. But this can be one of the advantages of having this kind of crazy roster from Equifox. You say, well, no one gets to scrim against them, so now you're kind of, well, could it be Jungle Rumble? Maybe, maybe not. I guess we'll pay that respect to them.
Well, Galio actually last pick for top lane. Feels a little rough for Seraph, but he kind of ran out of options, I guess.
I mean, I think it's fine. I actually think it's going to work pretty well in this situation, simply because Galio loves to itemize MR, and it double solo laners with AP threat, right? Like, this is a Rumble and an Orianna. Yes, there is an Olaf to provide some physical damage to actually threaten him there, but he can itemize very easily into things like the adaptive helm and serviceage and so on and so forth, and will become pretty resilient there. And if Rumble's just going to push him in, he can farm it out. He can kind of equalize in that way. The one thing I would say is Galio doesn't really have a lot of great ways in. I mean, Rek'Sai tunnels in, sure, great, but it's not like it's an Olaf flying in. It's not like it's a J4. It's not, any of these super crazy hardcore aggression type champions that can dive in and set up the Galio ultimate, so I don't really love the combo there. And my other concern for Envy's lineup is, do they have enough physical DPS in there? The Ashe is not always the highest DPS champion, and there is going to be a lot of threat on an Ashe from an Olaf and an Equalizer and all of the CC and stuff that can come out. So can he actually put out enough damage to force them to build armor, or will they be able to just be kind of too efficient with their itemization and just build them armor?
It's kind of a more middle of the road combat, feels like, for Envy. A lot of aggression in Game 2. Game 1 was kind of very different combo. I mean, Equifox has played very clean, so it was tough to say exactly compositionally what happened to Envy. Here in this game, I feel like they're giving themselves a few more team fighting options, but still built in a lot of good pick as well. So see how it works out here in game number 3, but Fox with another somewhat oddball draft, I guess I'm going to say.
Honestly, don't really love either draft.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
Yeah, I think they're fine. The compositions obviously can work. Somebody has to win, so that's going to happen. But
one of these drafts is correct.
Yeah, well, it's at least correct enough. But
correct enough to win.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I just think it's one of those situations where it is kind of middle of the road, like you said, but drafting yourself into a situation where it's not a Caitlyn is the only physical damage threat, it's an Ashe, and it obviously can work, and it's probably going to come down more to lanes and things like this, but I don't really love either comp.
Yeah, it can be tough. As Apollo gets 10 gold, he's officially ahead in CS in his lane, so he's looking good after that ward kill. Looks like some level 1 was being thought about maybe by Fox, but it looks like we're all across the rift. just getting some vision. Looper might try and pop in for a ward, but no, even he's just going to move back and hang out here in this brush getting vision.
Looper is going to have to be pretty damn careful, I think, in this lane, simply because the amount of gank assist that Seraph actually provides is pretty nuts. And the fact that you want to be pushing in as the Rumble and actually shoving in those minion waves over and over and over and over means that you're exposing yourself to those ganks, right? If Rek'Sai comes up early and you have Seraph able to land a taunt and able to hit you with that CC, it can be very tough. Envy going for the invade and going to take away a little bit of the small camp, but Echo Fox just kind of straight up move over and start leashing the red. So not going to be that big of a deal for Grig.
Grig going to lose a couple things here, but will be slowed down slightly, little with no help, but able to get pretty quickly through the jungle as looks like 2 little raptors were taken away from Grig.
And Olaf can clear this super easy, so it's actually not really going to matter. I think that's pretty smart adaptation from Echo Fox. Simply just back up. They don't really lose that much, and I think it's a nice little start for them.
Yep, Hakuho with a good play though, picks up a soul and then slaps Keith after flaying him back in. Nisqy already level 2, pressuring Damonte a little bit.
And he got level 2 earlier because he picked up those little raptor kills, so that's a bit of an edge there for him. Seraph actually shoving in the top side as well. It's not as easy for Rumble to have the auto push because you can't really overheat level 1 with some of the patches that came out for Rumble a couple patches ago. It's harder for him to actually build up that heat, and essentially your Flame Spitter does more damage, but it's a lower cooldown, and wow, Gate should not be standing up there when they're level 2.
That was the anti-mind game hook there for Hakuho. You always like want to try and think they're going to predict the juke, so you just stay there. Hakuho's like, no, I'm just throwing this one straight at your face. There's a lot of damage there dealt out. Looks like potions forcing to be used there as chilling back out in the top side. Looks like Loop has got the wave pushing back out in the right direction, but Seraph looking fine just now. LirA did check back in with the junglers though. Full clearing one side. Looks like Grig's doing the same. So it does feel like again Grig kind of defaulting a little more to more farm-heavy styles, at least in the early stages of the game, but Apollo with another good hawk shot, and no wards actually. I thought Nisqy was going over to do so, but pops it down in a different spot on the left, because it looks like they spotted Grig on the right.
Yeah, so both junglers going for pretty much a power clear. LirA already heading back to base. Did pick up the scuttle on the bot side, drop the ward, so trying to give some protection over. They also know where Grig was on the bot side of the map, so Envy just going to back up after actually pushing in the wave, and I think this is pretty smart play. LirA will be faster back out on the map and now can head top side, where that is going to be a big point of contention. You know, Looper is going to be pushing in. Yeah, sure, he has a trinket ward, but he kind of has to guess where the jungler is going to be coming from, and he's placed that far out on the river. But this means if LirA comes straight through Tribrush, he has no warning at all. It's hard, though, as a top laner, because you only have so many wards in the early game.
Well, LirA is on the Krugs and ready to do exactly that into the top lane. Double buffs ready, level 4 for the Rek'Sai, nice and quickly.
And you can see how much respect Looper is actually giving to that, kind of trying to stand back, but fights breaking out in the bot lane. And oh yeah, see, this is the path he's actually looking for. This is pretty smart. Like, this is the kind of the mind game is you would expect that the top laner would actually ward in the Tribrush. So you use the blast cone, you come over the Baron pit, and you actually go in through there. But that's exactly where the ward is. So pretty smart stuff, I'd say, from Looper.
Yeah, you can see LirA did also spot Grig, so more information to give him, but now Olaf going to move in to try and contest for a camp because LirA smited the Scuttle Crab.
And Grig can do this because Nisqy base, so that's kind of the unseen reasoning behind this. Normally that would not be an invade he could do at all, but LirA cannot really heavily contest because of the fact that Damonte had the push. He was actually in lane, and I believe that LirA actually smited the Scuttle, and Grig would have seen that, so that's another reason. So it's these little things that kind of go into the decision-making. Knowing Smite's down, knowing the mid laner cannot support, allows Grig to take away that camp, and that's just smart play.
Looks like triple throw and still for Seraph despite the changes, so feeling like he does need some early lane power. Still fine, of course, but not as efficient.
Yeah, I mean, he's going for it for the AP to try to hit a damage threshold where you can actually one-shot the backline with your Q. But I still think it's pretty bad. I think that, you know, generally people's answer to this has been kind of going like triple early game items, like you go Doran's Ring, Dark Seal, Corrupted, right? That kind of gives you similar levels of early game power because you lose the passive on these, and it's, in my opinion, not really worth it build-wise anymore.
Well, so Seraph's got some vision down and goes back to the lane, so we'll see just what he can do with all his extra rings. Certainly is one of the big reasons top lane Galio in particular has not been nearly as popular. going to trade back and forth. Already level 6 for Seraph. Doesn't give him any combat power really, but some that's the level advantage. Helps him out raw stats-wise. Lupin on digging 6 though will feel much more complete now he has every ability at his disposal. Yeah, and kind of as expected, nothing's happening in top lane.
Yeah, nothing too much. Galio really does kind of excel at short trades, and that's what Seraph is kind of going to be looking for. It's like you want to utilize your 3 abilities, you hit them with the E, and then you taunt them. That guarantees your Q or whatever. So you're essentially doing this rotation. But then after that, the longer the trade goes, the worse it gets for you because your cooldowns actually are relatively long before you have built up the CDR and have enough levels. So it's about those short trades, and that's what Seraph is kind of trying to utilize to get that push. And Looper also is kind of allowing the push to be given up more because he knows how scared he has to be of the Rek'Sai. Yes, Rek'Sai has been spotted out on the bot side now, but you need to play with respect to the jungler.
Hook gonna miss there. Not quite able to grab gate. As LirA is actually invading, so Envy trying to play aggressive in their 2v2. Only level 5 here on both sides, so probably gonna keep them at arm's length.
A lot of fighting around this red buff, though. We'll see if LirA can actually smite it away. Would be risky to go for. Nice ball positioning there from Damonte, kind of in between LirA and the red buff. So if LirA came forward, you can hit him with a shockwave. Being able to get that over on Grig, pretty important because he's already down a level, and giving over that experience and the power of that red buff to LirA when he's already ahead would have been somewhat problematic.
Yep, LirA recognizing this, just plays it safe and goes for a Prey Seeker, hoping Grig mismites. He does not. And able to secure that buff for himself. Good knockback there from Nisqy onto Damonte. Big bit of pressure there from Taliyah.
Yeah, both sides playing it pretty passive so far, though. No real attempts at ganks happening just yet. I do think they could look top lane, but nice hook.
CC chain.
Oh, great play.
Though. Plays nice, but so safe there for Gate.
Yeah, Gate has the double dash to be able to actually get out. So the grand entrance does get played, but he's able to hop right back to Keith. So very well done from him.
And don't need to burn any cooldowns really there. I'll just continue farming things out. Looks like it's back time for Apollo and Hakuho there. BF Sword Boots done. And stats don't complete now for Hakuho as well. So early landing items done nice and early here.
Yeah.
It's been a nice even farm fest in the bot side. In fact, this game is easily the closest of the 3 we've had, which is pretty common in a best of 3. Just a lot of early farming and feeling out for both.
Ooh, Galio's in range of ultimate, so they could commit for a fight here. We'll see if they want to try to go for this.
Don't want to go over the ball, but the blue buff resets, so job half done for MV.
Yeah, they're just going to go back to mid lane and push now. I guess they're giving up on it. It does look like as Nisqy is over there.
Hakuho is also here though, so the taunt landing onto Looper could start something up, but LirA instead going to take the Stutter Crab and flew over to Damonte. Despite the vision there for Envy, don't feel confident going in for that invade.
Yeah, so Nisqy kind of gets the smaller win, which is just pushing in the minions, maybe deny a couple of those from his opponent. So it's not bad. Not going to be a big difference by any means, but it's something, right? And Looper actually feeling a little bit nervous, it seems. Wants to drop down that equalizer. He wants to base. Going to be able to clear out that wave and head back home. Not having to utilize TP, since that on cooldown, you want to be making sure you're not getting pushed in at that time.
Well, looks like Seraph going to do the same. Why not? Might as well when the window is open to back. Blue buff now over to Nisqy, so the steal not going right for them. Doesn't mean he won't get one. And we'll continue just seeing again farm back and forth. But we did see this from Damonte in the first game here. I mean, you don't always have to leave your lane early as Taliyah and go roaming, but if it's possible, Nisqy would like to try and get the snowball going. That first arrow play not quite working out for Envy, but yeah, we'll see if they can accelerate the game a little more, because that is how they got ahead in game 2.
And I mean, making the arrow play work on the bot side is pretty tough now that Keith is actually level 6 on the Kalista. As long as Gate stands in front of him, you can just Kalista all of them out of that, no problem. And even if you manage to hit Gate can, or sorry, even if you manage to hit Keith, Gate can probably peel for him, right? Utilizing his ultimate, and we'll see if a fight's going to break out here. There are 4 members of Envy. They're faster on the play. I don't think that Echobox is going to try.
Yeah, this is nice from Envy, just again forcing themselves onto the Drake. Grig was not quite in position, and hard for Olaf to do anything and get over a wall because he has to go down.
Yeah, and the biggest part of that is, once again, mid lane priority. Damonte, not there yet. Nisqy shoves in the wave, then goes to Dragon. Damonte must answer that wave or lose CS and turret damage. And that gives them an easy Mountain Drake.
So again, Envy kind of playing the map smartly here, knowing that picks aren't forthcoming just yet, so might as well just take a different objective and kind of keep the game moving forward in their favor. No gold, of course, comes out of that Drake, but if they can start slapping the turrets, or the Baron, or the next Drake, depending on what comes up next. This pace of play has been significantly slower in this game. And Echofox were definitely more happy in game 1 to play a more conservative early game and then really open up. And once they got a lead, they never let go of it.
Yeah, they really didn't. And I mean, it's also that it's a game 3, right? You don't have any more games to give. They really want to get the wins in this series for both teams. Envy on the rise, tied for 4th right now, looking to climb in the standings even more. You know, try to hopefully get up to that playoff spot. And Echofox looking to climb into contention for 6th place. You know, the gap is still small enough that they have a chance at kind of squeezing into one of those bottom playoff spots.
Well, looks like a play being set up here by Echofox. Going to move Rakan and Olaf just up to the right-hand side of mid lane. Blue buff not spawning just yet, but vision down regardless for Fox is nice. They have a triplet of wards actually, just above that side of the buff.
They do indeed, fighting for that vision. It looks like Envy may want to try to make a move towards the Rift Herald, and they are going to be able to take that down. So LirA grabbing something, and this could actually cause some tension in the game as far as, do you want to try to drop this and actually force a play? I mean, if you can dive the Rumble right now like that, or get a kill or push him out or anything like that, you can drop the Rift Herald and try to go for first turret. That makes that Rift Herald even that much more valuable. They may be expecting that this is going to happen on top side though, so Echofox is already preempting this. They're sending their bot lane top. We'll see if Envy is going to get wind of that and try to match. Looks like for now, though, they're actually setting up for an arrow on mid lane. Apollo was on point with these in game number 1, or rather game number 2, and yesterday. So we'll see if he can actually land.
Nope, no arrow forthcoming. Hakuho roaming up, but I think he's just having a clear vision as Fox do have enough surveillance to spot out that play from Apollo. Certainly was a nice thought here, but that lane swap could give a lot of tempo over to Fox, but actually bottom side's where they're going to go.
Turret.
Looking for that first turret. Rift Herald's going to make it pretty simple.
Yeah, that's pretty much a guaranteed first turret. Nicely done for them there. And while they will have to give up the first turret on the top side, Galio can certainly start to thin the wave out with his Qs, and they won't be able to actually go for a second turret, whereas Envy's already getting up to there. We'll have to see the Equalizer come out, and that does get some damage down, but that brings off the back door having that Rift Herald there, so they actually are probably going to get the second turret as well.
Yep, should be able to, and the first turret just finishes there for Fox. So really nice play there for Envy, and Fox not fast enough for that tier 2.
And a big cash in, honestly, from the Rift Herald there. So they're looking to try to pilfer some of the jungle on the top side, take some of that away, but Seraph very easily will defend the tier 2 turret top. And now Echofox looking to try to maybe move over towards mid lane, see if there's anything there, but Nisqy's already kind of evacuated the area.
Looks like everyone's got gold to spend as Apollo goes back. Essence Reaver components already there, so not too far away from the item completion. Damonte also going back. Assault Shoes now to join in with his Morello Nomicon. And Nisqy Morello's first became as well with Blade finish for Keith. So a lot of item pickups there. Some gold gets exchanged, but Envy do end up on top in the total trade. 1,000 gold ahead now. 2 turrets to 1, taking those 2 out in the bot lane.
And a lot of thanks. That just goes to the Rift Herald. So well done by LirA to be able to actually set up a nice Rift Herald play. The lane swap ends up kind of backfiring on Echofox a bit because they want to try to preempt the play, look for maybe that first turret top side, but Rift Herald really throws the math on that out of whack, so not much they can actually do to fight back and get an even trade there once they put themselves into that situation. But we're pretty deep into the game. Nisqy has his rank 2 ultimate, still has yet to actually get active with that, but Envy is playing pretty passively, and this is a very different Envy. You know, we talked a little bit about Echofox, you know, kind of some of their past and how they have had some really strong moments, but never really that consistency. And for Envy, they're coming in as really like probably the worst team last split, right? Like they were definitely one of the lower tier teams. Now they are like a legitimate threat as a playoff team, and they have really shifted their focus. Like a game like this does show that. Oh, that was really close.
Great flash from Damonte, gets out from under another well-aimed arrow, almost takes out the other solo laner.
Flash down, though. They could try to force onto Damonte, but looking like we'll be passive again. And you know, Envy used to be all about the early game. It was like, LirA, if you don't have 6 kills by 5 minutes, we probably lose. And now, I mean, they're willing to sit back. They're willing to play these passive games. They're showing a different dimension to the team.
Well, I think, given what we've seen in this series so far, this pace of play certainly suits Fox, but we'll be impressive to see if Envy can play a more controlled game. Fun fact, though, we are going to break a different kind of record today. Today will be the slowest first blood of the split.
In this game?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. We did it.
We did it. I mean, still sitting with a L0-0. I mean, lots of objectives kind of been looked at here and there. I think Envy have got the better end of all of those trades. They got that first mountain, they took the 2 turrets. It seems like they've recognized that picks aren't as easy, so they're happy to outplay the map instead, but Fox are just biding their time and
and now we're gonna see some action. I think this is gonna be almost impossible for LirA to get out of.
3-man dive, LirA flashes, but is already exhausted. LirA here as well, knocked back from Nisqy with the W, and there's first blood. Apollo gonna get it.
Yeah, LirA with a nice try. He'd already actually ulted out the minion wave, but then didn't have it to actually fight off the dive. And when there's that many members there, you don't even need the minions. So first blood finally cashed in there from Envy.
Another arrow from Apollo is looking for Damonte. Seraph not able to line it up, but Damonte is still taunted up. The team coming in. The ball's going to zone off the rest of them. Gate there able to protect him. Knocks up Seraph as the Drake does go over to Olaf. Envy still maybe trying to fight, but not much to force right now.
Yeah, well, I think Apollo shouldn't be basing. He could just actually stay on the top side. They know that Rumble is dead, and bot side, that's where everyone else is. So Apollo could have actually been going to try to get some turret damage, but instead he will go back to base. Nisqy at least getting some pressure on the mid lane. Going to be able to chunk that out, but here's the dive again. So LirA knows that this is coming. He actually just drops the ultimate very early, and he wants to try to back off, but if you've already utilized that ultimate and they are behind you, there's no real way out. So Hakuho just going to tank this up, stands on the very outside, takes as many turret shots as he can, and there's just nowhere really to go for LirA, even though he did a pretty good job avoiding the CC.
Yep. Simple stuff there for Envy, but do have to lose the second potential Mountain Drake to them as a result. Red buff invader is currently in progress, and that'll be successful. No vision there in the brush for Grig, so Envy able to smite that one down, and Nisqy's applying a good amount of pressure. Game definitely starting to open back up as Damonte gets shoved back into the rocks. Hakuho not quite able to combo that, but no flash, no heal now for the Orianna, and his turret is low. Damonte is an easy target for Envy.
Yeah, he really is. I actually kind of like this build adaptation here from LirA too, going Knight's Vow second. You know, I kind of talked about, hey, is there actually enough physical DPS in the kit with just kind of this Apollo Ashe? You know, Rek'Sai generally not going to add a ton of team fight damage, especially not as this tank, but he's going to be able to kind of give more safety to Apollo. And if you can make sure Apollo can survive and he's not actually as threatened by the Olaf and the Rumble and stuff like I talked about, then yeah, he is going to add enough physical damage. So a pretty defensive itemization, but it's something that keeps his carry alive and allows him to perhaps get that extra damage out that they'll need.
Yeah, Apollo's still shoving in the lane. Might try and take mid, but going to meet some resistance as Keith and Gate return. Again, seals in the inventories of both bot laners actually. Moving towards that second major item. For Envy, I think starting to get a little more proactive around the map. You can see they've opened up a couple turrets. They're just sweeping out vision. I think starting to realize that, you know what, we can play a bit more aggressive in this game and look for opportunities, and there's one under Gate. Oh, great shot back in, but Kalista still there, so very patient from Envy to just to wait, not overcommit cooldowns.
Yeah, pretty comfortable knowing that they have that Kalista ultimate in the back pocket, so if any major cooldown got committed, like the Ashe ult or something, you certainly would have seen Keith pop that and get his support out of there.
Some damage done. Nisqy's actually now splitting the side lane, so a really safe lane for Apollo to farm in the mid lane here, although you need to get back as Fox are actually counter-attacking there, threatening this turret.
Envy could try to collapse on this though. If Galio actually comes up, they have the Weaver's Wall available. They have Ashe Arrow here too, but Fox push it in, back off, and nothing happening.
Yeah, could maybe cut them off here, but I don't think Nisqy can see enough for a wall angle. Do want that mid turret, but Envy again going to continue playing patient as Gate on top of a control ward while recalling.
Yeah, both teams just kind of scaling up. I mean, neither solo laner from Envy has actually expended an ultimate yet this game, I do believe. At level 13 on both of those guys, they are getting to a pretty strong point. I think that Rumble and Orianna, it's going to be a pretty powerful team fight from them, but it's going to be so much, it feels like, about the initial moments of the fight for this Echo Fox squad. You know, can you actually get a really good combo down? You know, if Gate can actually get a stun, you know, get that engage onto Apollo or onto Nisqy, and then you can follow that up with the Rumble ultimate, with the Orianna ultimate, then they can certainly win the fight, because the amount of front-loaded burst and damage that's going to come out from the solo laner's ultimate will be massive. But if you cannot make that happen, I think it's pretty tough for Keith to actually fight through the Rek'Sai and the Galio and the Thresh, because he's, you know, relatively low range. I think this is an AD carry that has to kind of get up in their opponent's face, and that's very tough to do against all this CC, because if you step forward and get actually locked up, then the Kalista is very likely going to go down.
Well, Envy maybe going to prompt themselves into a team fight with Apollo finishing his second item. Hurricane now up. Ready to go. And you can see a gold lead actually pretty big there. 3,000 gold up for Envy. I mean, might even get more. No, Damonte throws out of the way of the arrow, but that's kind of a very passive lead that's been developed here. I mean, Fox can get it back easily if they win a fight, but if they keep playing back, they're just going to slowly maybe lose. But here's the action. Apollo going to get left on, but actually a double shockwave. Trying to get out of it, but the shockwave lands through. Damonte needs to get back into the rest of the fight. Hakuho is low, but Keith is going to be able to take him down as Nisqy zones out Orianna. Seraph low. Didn't even commit the ultimate just yet. Fox trying to fight their way out here, but LirA back in with the ultimate, executes Damonte, and there's the Galio ult just to save LirA.
And Echo Fox is on the wrong side of the map here. They are pinned down. We'll see if they can fight out.
Apollo burnt down by Lupa, very nice, but now they're going to keep going for the re-engage. Nisqy with a lot of damage, but Olaf able to take down the Galio. LirA gets out of there. Smites the Baron for a bit of extra health, and Nisqy just can't quite seal those last few kills.
Yeah, Nisqy and LirA so low, it ends up being that 2-for-3 trade there, so it goes slightly in the favor of Echo Fox, and they are pushing in, so not a bad fight there. And critically, they got summoners off of both Apollo and Nisqy, so if they can actually look for that one more time within the next 5 minutes, that could be very big for them, because had that shockwave hit on Apollo, it would have been a devastatingly one-sided fight, I think, for Echo Fox, but Apollo had a quick flash, got out of the shockwave, and they weren't fully synced up, so you'll see the engage coming in. There it is, but the ball was not actually already on gate, so Apollo had time to actually flash out before the shockwave could land. But they have gotten the summoners off both the carries, and Echo Fox need to now try to make that play one more time before the flash comes back up.
Kind of a fun ending to this fight. But Lupa doing a really good job actually cleaning up a couple of kills and keeping the rest of his team safe.
Yeah, very, very scrappy fight, and as the health bars got lower and lower, it became very difficult for the people to actually fully commit and enter the fight, so pretty evenly matched on both sides.
He's doing a lot of work though in that fight. It was a long one, so Taliyah able to output tons and tons of burst. I guess not burst really. But sustained damage. Ocean Drake is going to add to the stockpile there as well for Envy. I'll grab the second Drake ahead in that objective right now. But of course, we've gotten so late steadily into this game that pinning up Speedy Baron, here's another one.
I mean, they did just clear out the ward, and they know the jungler's there. This is pretty easy to predict. Echo Fox may try to turn for the fight, though. Ultimates are back up, and remember, no flashes on the carries. Echo Fox looking for the fight.
Fate's Call burnt on the Hakuho, but he gets moved back in. The charm is there, but the Dark One's actually not going to quite hit anyone. Seraph tanks all of the CC in the front line, and LirA just going to tunnel out of the way. Yeah,
Gate actually couldn't get through the carries, used his CC combo onto Seraph, and then there's nothing really else to get done there, and that's every ultimate except for Damonte's down from Echo Fox. So now I feel like Envy can very easily start up the Baron and say, come fight us. Like, there's no power really left in Echo Fox without those playmaking abilities.
So we get to cancel that recall, but Envy will not be starting the Baron. No. Still some good wards around the area.
I mean, want to play it passive, which has been kind of the story of this game, so I understand that they want to kind of keep playing it safe, but I do feel like you need the ultimates so much less on the side of Envy than you do at like the Equalizer and and Ragnarok and all these big engage abilities and powerful teamfight abilities.
Well, it looks like top turret's going to go down. So Envy actually extending their gold lead to 4,000 now. Gate dances out of the way. Envy keep defending their turrets. Fox only has one, and it was a trade that initially made in that lane swap when they traded 2 for 1, taking out the top outer. So Fox again is kind of backed into a corner, and it's so tough in these spots when the game gets late to do anything because you don't have map.
Well, and kind of, to be honest, feels like they let themselves get to this point. I mean, when was their first real attempt at an engage? Like post 20 minutes in the game, right? So it's one of those situations where this was kind of some of the criticisms that used to be leveled at Echo Fox, is that it's like, well, they just kind of sit around. If they don't get a big early game lead, what are they really going to do? This game has been played very passively. Envy played the map better, got farm advantages, took more turrets, so now they do have the edge. Echo Fox certainly has the playmaking to make something happen, but they need to be able to execute on that, as flashes are soon going to be back up for Apollo and Nisqy. So the window is still there, but it is closing, and we'll see if Echo Fox can actually force a fight before they are back up.
Seraph almost level 16 as well. Definitely one to point out for ultimate range. He's bottom lane right now, but with no TP, so just gets a little push going and gonna roam back up to make sure he can cover for a potential team fight. But that's a wave now that Fox have to answer. And they are very good at this 4-1 style. Seraph likes a lot of these champions, even though the likes of Shen and Galio aren't that meta, they are good with them.
certainly the case. And now it's just kind of the fight for mid lane priority. Echofox pushes up mid lane, goes to Baron, tries to ward that out, and then Envy responds in Kai. They get control of mid lane, then they get to go over the Baron, clearing out this vision. Being able to kind of reestablish that control for their team is pretty important.
Very simple for Envy to get it because they've got a mid out of turret and a Taliyah. So just going to camp this brush and hope Fox walks the wrong way, loop it down to the bot side, but with his teleport, so can join if needed, but Envy have taken control back over that area with all their vision down.
And Envy have lived through this scary time where the summoners were not on their carries, right? Like that was kind of the big window, you feel like, for Echofox, because yes, they could make the engage work, but if Apollo and Nisqy utilize their summoner cooldowns very, very well, they can probably avoid, the equalizer and the shockwave reasonably well and survive. So Echofox kind of has to force a fight, force out the summoners, and then repeat again. Unless they really can catch them with like a perfect combo. If you can get Gate and Shockwave as he's going in and CCs them, then maybe you don't actually need to force those cooldowns.
Well, Luke's going to get a turret. Envy waiting around for a fight, but maybe now they found one. It's onto Grig, though, just pops the Ragnarok and walks away.
Ragnarok, big cooldown, though. It's very tough for Grig to be effective in these team fights when that is down. And Looper continuing to push. They're trying to get a side lane advantage, trying to have him kind of farm that out and pressure some of these turrets. But Seraph is going over to respond.
Yeah, no, actually Fox under the mid lane turret, but that could prompt Envy into another fight here. Seraph just running him away, but Nisqy's actually going to gank the bot side instead. Looper does have his flash, but might have to burn it pretty soon to get out of the way. The blast cone is there for safety, going to try and make it over the wall, but is going to get it. Oh, Nisqy, he tried to predict it. Look good, but he flashes over just to seal it.
Looper flashed in place there as well. Looks like his mouse was misplaced. I think the way he gets out in that situation, you have to flash the blast cone and then knock yourself out to essentially get maximum distance. Seemed like a bit of a panic flash. Maybe was not expecting Nisqy to really follow. He never dropped the equalizer. He never really utilized his flash well at all. That felt like maybe one he should have been able to get out of.
And one of the nice things about all the pressure that Envy have, you mentioned it earlier. We'll just watch this play again, but
yeah, it was a good initial play from Looper there. Seraph, for whatever reason, I don't know if he's actually just not used to playing Galio. He keeps instant tapping his taunt. He's not actually channeling, and I don't know if he doesn't realize or if he's just not comfortable, but he's not getting a full taunt there, and then watch the flash, like pretty much flashes in place. But yeah, so it was a good sidestep on the actual Justice Punch. Seraph, for whatever reason, does not channel his taunt, so it's like a 0.1 second taunt. It doesn't actually do anything, and that gave Looper a chance to get away. But not utilizing the flash, kind of waffling on if he should flash over the wall or use the blast cone. Didn't use the equalizer to peel for himself, so definitely some mistakes.
That's Gate, gonna get knocked back into the team, but Kalista will pull him out to safety. Fight maybe still stutters. They're onto Grig, but he's pretty tanky, so with just LirA there, not taking too much punishment. I mean, Envy are happy to use their kind of double global here with the Galio, with the Taliyah to just punish wherever they're going, because Fox have so little room that even though Loop is doing the right thing in that lane pushing, he can't really do so safely if Envy choose to gank the lane with their mid laner, so...
At least if they don't have vision, which they did not. I mean, look how dark the map is. They have Pink Ward in mid lane and Pink lane is in the side brush. Like, for all they know, their opponents aren't Baron, and that's why they drop their blue trinket there from Keith. They have to check on it. If you don't have side lane control, like with the wards in this blue side jungle, it's so hard for Looper to safely push, and especially without his flash.
And today's split pusher is Apollo as he peeks down briefly into the top lane to get the lane shoving. Wall gonna try and hit Keith, but he hops just over and gets knocked back on the right side.
And that blue ward's still there, but it doesn't actually grant vision, so they don't actually know. And now the second one gets dropped, and the Baron is almost gone. I don't think they can get there in time. Ghost is popped from Grig. He wants to get in.
Don't think so either. Grig gonna run in. Actually, will have a chance to try and smite shield this. Grig straight in there, but LirA secures it in the 50-50. Now Envy, what are they gonna do? Looking to maybe back out of the way as Fox are looking to fight LirA. Tunnels over the wall. Seraph Justice punches out for the gap close, and Envy get away with it.
Envy walk right out and not killing off the ward. Unless you're hitting it, it doesn't give any vision. The pink ward disables that, so they drop the second blue orb. Grig does get over there, but not in time to really get anything done. He's not able to actually pull off that smite steal. LirA secures it, and Envy gets the Baron.
Yeah, Fox do get the middle lane out of turret.
Something.
I believe LirA was a level up, so not a true 50-50 for the smite fight, but...
I mean, it's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where...
Certainly could have still.
Yeah, he certainly could have. It looked like he actually used his smite a little bit early, perhaps anticipating an earlier smite from LirA. Both junglers obviously trying to utilize their smite in combination with their execute ability. You're going to see LirA trying to use his E, that ferocious bite, or furious bite rather, for that true damage with his smite, try to combo that and burst it down. And Grig definitely trying to do his own combo with Reckless.
Yep. E into Smite is the combo for both junglers. Easy one to remember as LirA ticks the Ocean Drake once again. Hasn't been high octane Drakes really, but Envy will take it as they're looking to siege down some of these lanes. Baron in all 3 lanes appears to be the plan. Apollo getting top going, couple people in mid, and Seraph, of course, on bot lane duty.
Looking to be the target here. They're just trying to push in all sides. They have Baron buff in all 3 lanes, or at least had it, as Apollo does back off. The bot lane being shoved in there by Seraph, and he is very, very tanky at this point with the stone play completed. Going to be hard to actually really put much threat onto him as Looper. So they want to buff up all sides. They want to try to chunk down some of these turrets and really establish a large gold lead before committing to anything crazy.
Yep, tier 2 fourth in the top lane. That's 5 turrets to 3 now for Envy. Remember that long lane's kind of causing some pretty significant problems with the Baron pressure. Seraph just able to constantly pressure down the inhib. A lot of tankiness as well. Rumble, good items there for Looper, so can certainly fight effectively both in the 1v1 and in a team fight, but going to be pinned down here by Seraph and his Baron up minions.
Yeah, and the Baron minions, if you actually try to fight, end up adding a lot of damage in, so it can make it a lot more difficult. Envy just kind of pressing on both sides. They have the top lane tier 2 down. Apollo's going to be on that inhibitor turret pretty soon, so Envy's trying to play this game where they try to force multiple members to come one side, then they push on the other side, you back off when they come to your lane, you go forward when they leave your lane. It's basically just a bouncing back and forth, trying to utilize that Baron buff as well as possible.
There's got a lot of good mobility here across the team, so kind of a nice thing to do when they can bounce between so many waves. But it looks like the base will remain unbroken for Echo Fox. Turret goes down in mid, so not good news there.
Yeah.
Turrets down, only the inhibitor turrets and the Nexus ones left.
And they have gotten 2 outers so far, so it's not bad for the Baron buff. They have picked up quite a bit of gold here already with the Baron kill itself, giving over none of those kills. And look at LirA just going back and forth through the tunnels over the wall.
I mean, low tunnel cooldown, that was one of the changes as Keith forced a flash. Hakuho just threatening with those hooks, and again, kind of the nature of how this is played out. Then we're looking for another siege is that they're actually really far ahead now.
I mean, it just kind of feels like last game, to be honest, where Echo Fox is just sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. It's like, what are you waiting for at this point? I mean, eventually you have to choose the engage, and if you let Envy farm your jungle over and over and over and over, if you let them slowly extend the gold lead, there comes the point where you do engage and you're too far behind for it to actually matter. So that is my concern for Echo Fox. Envy, they're the ones getting more, so they don't need to press. Like, they're fine if this game ends with 4 kills because it means that they're farming all of the jungle, getting more and more of an advantage. Where Echo Fox drafted this comp where it's like, oh sweet, you have all this sick engage with Rakan and Kalista, and you're gonna drop the equalizer, you're gonna shockwave, it's gonna be great. And they don't do it, they don't use it. So you're passively just losing the game.
Yep, and 8,000 gold ahead is the lead that Envy currently hold. Baron buff has timed out, so we're gonna have to wait on the next spawn if they do need it. Elder Dragon also the one next up. Again, not huge, massive drakes for Envy, but true damage is always nice if they can grab it.
I would like to see Apollo kind of trying on more arrows, though. I mean, at least look for something, like try to get a summoner, because he's 40% CDR, right? Like, he has the Essence Fever plus the crit, and he has a Maw, so he's sitting on 40%. The arrow cooldown is 48 seconds. Like, anytime you can force a summoner or even an ultimate from Keith or anything, it's very valuable, and there's so little time where the Ashe arrow is down that it's really hard for the other team to actually get a punish on that. So wouldn't mind seeing him at least fish for some arrows, try to look and see if they can get anything done. Like, this game has just been bizarre to me, like how passive it is. I still don't remember a single Weaver's Wall. I still don't remember, like, was there even a single grand entrance from, or heroic entrance from Seraph? Like, I don't know if
I remember one.
Ultimate, so maybe once in the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's just been a very slow-paced game. Damonte gets stunned by the arrow. Good target, but protection there from Gate, and no one in range to follow up there for Envy.
Yeah, but I don't mind the try. Like I said,
of course.
The cooldown's so low, right? Like, there's going to be 30 seconds or so until Apollo has that arrowed back, so it's not really much cost. I do like that they're at least shooting those off, but it's been such an incredibly passive game.
Yeah, it has, and it's been kind of strange. I can definitely see, the game 3 playing more passively than usual. It's kind of something that's systemic, I think, in a lot of close series, and the first 2 games have been relatively one-sided on either end of the field, so I can see that as well.
One thing I will say, you don't see it among the absolute elite teams, among the best teams, right? You need to be able to have the killer instinct. You need to be able to close out games and look to force advantages, because it's simply a world in which you can actually give the team too many chances to get back in. Now, finally looking for a fight.
They're actually going in after Seraph following in. Big three-man taunt coming, gets a lot of damage on Nikita's case. Already going to go down. Seraph actually getting the first kill onto the marksman as Apollo grabs the other member of the duo, and Envy probably asking themselves why we didn't do that earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, Echo Fox are probably asking the same thing. They finally try to force, but great. You forced when you're down over 10,000 gold into a suboptimal situation where Damonte's not even able to get a shockwave off, and now the game's over. And it's like they didn't even try to utilize their composition here. It's kind of disappointing to watch. When Echo Fox did play very well in Game 1, Game 2 a bit of a disaster, Game 3 looking kind of like the same, and it just feels like they're playing to not lose instead of playing to win. And when you play to not lose, you don't give yourself the opportunity to win because you're so passive that you're never actually capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes, your opponent's map movements. And that's what I've seen from Echo Fox this game, is them sitting back, never actually looking to make a play happen.
One last Baron to grab here as Envy should take this one down pretty soon. Nisqy should be able to wall them off and does do so. Lovely wall. Olaf cannot get over that one, so no steal coming. Nisqy himself even grabs the Baron, and Envy gonna reset, go back by, and try and end this one.
Nice Weaver's Wall there from Nisqy, and Envy doing a good job, you know, establishing a huge gold lead. And here's the play again. Apollo, I believe, caught Damonte with this arrow, so super low CDR. He already hit him once with it. Hook into arrow, nicely done, forcing out the heal, and then Echo Fox decides we're just gonna go for the engage. Look where Damonte is. How is he supposed to get involved in this fight? Look where Rumble is. Like, how are their solo laners supposed to be involved in this fight, right? Like, they're so far away that by the time they arrive, the fight is already decided, so Damonte cannot really contribute. Luke, for sure, he throws his equalizer from pretty far away, but that is not a fight that Echo Fox actually has a chance of winning when your solo laners are not getting involved.
Well, Elder Dragon down as well, just to make sure Envy have everything they need to try and end this game. I even just saw it on the way ping towards the red buff, so I guess they'll get there en route to top lane.
Well, they do have those dragons, so now cashing on the Elder. They have an incredible amount of true damage burn here. With the 4 stacks, essentially you get 1 for free for taking that Elder, and then additional 45 damage for every dragon you have after that. So looking at 180 true damage burn per attack that kind of comes out there, which is an enormous amount. And they are going to be able to have that Baron buff. 2 inhibitors already down. Those lanes are going to be auto-pushing, but LirA is going to kind of usher those minions in and make it happen a little bit faster. You can see Apollo up on the top side prepping that wave. They're establishing vision control in this area, making sure that they can't be flanked. This is very good textbook play from Envy, who are looking to close out what is a really solid game.
Yeah, and should be a lot less frugality, I suppose, with the ultimates. Although, again, another attempt on Fox. Might be too late at this point, but they have to try something. Wall cuts off 3. Not quite in position yet. Seraph blocking around the side. But LirA again just guiding minions in. This is just a great pincer from Envy.
Yeah, I mean, LirA, look at the wave in the bot side. You don't even have to push. It's a massive amount of minions stacked up down there, multiple super minions. So all Envy has to do is keep them up here. Keep ushering in these minions. LirA could even go down and actually buff up that bottom wave, which is just enormous, and that alone will force them to defend at the Nexus, which means you get a free 3rd inhibitor. So as long as Envy does not fully engage and lose a fight, it's almost an unlosable situation, as the Nexus turrets are already dying.
Yep, gonna have to respond now, and Envy timing the waves wonderfully, moving themselves forward. LirA even gonna go down, buff them up, and start the process. In fact, that turret's dead. He's just chilling out.
Sit there, and now the turret goes down up top. They lose the 3rd inhibitor. Echo Fox and not even going to be able to fight for any of these inhibitors, and it's a repeat of Game 2.
It's actually great to watch LirA just babysitting the minions, but Nexus turret 1 already down with his health. Now the final stand is going to come, but Seraph tanks every little bit of damage. And Nexus is already dead. Echo Fox just too late on that one, and Envy are going to win the series and sweep the weekend.
Yeah, Envy, great weekend for them. A rough Game 1 here, but Game 2 and 3 looking extremely dominant. I'm just really disappointed in Echo Fox. It just felt like Games 2 and 3, they were not playing to win. They were playing so passively. You have so many forms of engage. You have this explosive AoE comp where you have powerful upfront teamfight damage with the Equalizer, with the Orianna ultimate, with the engage from Kalista and Rakan, and they never did it. They waited so long to the point where you're almost in an unwinnable position because you're so much down in the goal.
Yeah, and it's almost impossible to say exactly what factors contributed there, but certainly the team is learning a lot as they move through the season. It is still odd that they are making so many changes and adding so many variables late into the season, but clearly a team that is trying to find something they've never really had, which is consistency.
Yeah, and I mean, credit goes to Envy for also doing a good job for not presenting those opportunities, for being able to, absorb the few engages that did come out, for being able to play smart around the map, controlling vision, kind of bleeding their opponents out as they did in games 2 and 3. They choked them out with vision, they controlled the jungle, they farmed it out, they're able to establish enough control to take out these global objectives, the Baron, the Elder, and to look really completely unthreatened, I'd say, in games 2 and 3. Echo Fox had a very strong game 1, but it was off of some big picks and then 2 extremely early Barons. And it felt like without that really big buffer that they got in the first game, they were really unable to do anything.
Yeah, and you can see the 2 solo laners there, Apollo and Nisqy, big smiles on their faces after the victory. They're smiley carries that they've added to this team. So clearly, energy's feeling good for Envy. Certainly their record is reflecting the attitude that they're now displaying, and a team that's on the up and up. Again, maybe a little narrow as far as how they win games, but it looks very good when they do it.
It certainly can, right? The question is, can they pull this off against, more teams consistently? Can they pull it off against top teams consistently? That's really the question, and there's been so many kind of like surges from these teams. When you look at Dignitas this week, coming back looking very strong. Envy coming back this week looking very strong. I think they have a strong interpretation of the meta. They're playing very well around how they want to play, and we'll see if they can actually continue to do that. And for Echo Fox, it's maybe a bit back to the drawing board. You have to, if you want to keep making these subs happen, you have to have the players all on the same page, all confident to execute your compositions, because if you're playing a hardcore engage AoE composition and you're not utilizing it, then you're not really playing to the strengths that you've drafted.
Have to imagine the Echo Fox drawing world's pretty intense, because there's a lot going on.
And you know what I would drop there? I would drop Froggen's face, and I would put him back in, because they didn't use him in either of their losses this weekend.
That's true. Froggen Ware may be at the core from the Echo Fox fans, because it is puzzling in a lot of ways to see why he is not playing. But hey, Envy will take it. 3 games, but still a win. And I will say, on the other side, their new mid laner is playing very well.
Yeah, Nisqy is playing very well. I think him and Pyrion have been working pretty well together. People kind of talked about, oh, well, they have such different champion pools. Well, it's Nisqy on Taliyah. That was Pyrion's thing. So, is this going to stay as a true sub situation? My feeling is no. I'm guessing that it's just, kind of trying out Nisqy, and now he has been very successful. So we'll see if they stick with him. But it's certainly not all the blame on Damonte, so I don't want people to put it there. This is a team effort and a team loss.
Certainly is and always will be. But for a first-hand account on that series, let's hear from Riv and Envy's bot laner.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Apollo after their victory over Echo Fox, jumping over them very well in this victory. A 2-1. It did go all 3 games, kind of pushed back and forth. You said, I'm going to let you talk to that first thing you were just telling me, is it was pretty fun because we kind of realized we weren't doing anything, and then first blood happened.
Yeah, no, I didn't even realize it was like, I think it was like 20 minutes in the game or something like that, and we had first blood, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess I got the extra bonus goal, it's nice. But yeah, we didn't really do that much, and even the ending was like, kind of boring. It was like, okay, we're not fighting, and then we're not fighting, and then we just ended the game. So, but the other 2 games were exciting, and a lot of kills.
Well, it's got to feel pretty good knowing you can push that advantage to a win. Sometimes it stalls out, and then you get the long games. It becomes difficult. However, Envy's got to be feeling pretty good. A Cloud9 victory this week, another victory for you guys. Kind of, what's the overall feeling of the team right now? How are you guys right in the middle of the playoff pack?
I think a little bit surprised because we didn't really, I mean, it's not like we weren't confident, but it was definitely a rough set of or like 2 weeks of scrims that we had. So I wasn't like, I was a little bit nervous about C9. They were pretty strong, even though they didn't do as well in Rift Rivals. I think, they're still a really strong team. So I'm glad we 2-0'd them. And then, yeah, I mean, Echo Fox are also a strong team. They kind of gave us a couple of sub rosters, so maybe helped a little bit, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm really happy that we pulled the 2-0, especially because this is like a really big turning point, because we're fighting for playoffs now rather than fighting to stay out of relegations. And yeah, it's good. It's good.
Right on. Sorry about that. Two-parter here, kind of. You talked about sub rosters a little bit. You guys yourself using Pyrion and Nisqy in the mid lane. How is that adapting? And then I'm going to ask you, what's it like playing against a 10-man roster? So first, what's it like adapting with Pyrion and Nisqy?
It's good. There's a lot of, the thing is they're actually pretty similar in skill level. I think they're both really strong players, so it's not like a clear choice that we've had, obviously. And yeah, I think they're both their strengths and weaknesses, and I think it's really neat that we can kind of choose between the two. Yeah, and I think they're both really great players, and they have a lot of potential.
And how do you prepare for the 10-man roster? You kind of just play your own game because it's the champions are going to have the same skills. It's really, can you outplay the other guy?
Yeah, so there in this case, I think there are some situations where like, oh, we don't have to ban this because this player doesn't play that, and so it does kind of make you think more. But in the end, like you said, it's just you play your champions, you just gotta outplay them anyways, and it's sometimes annoying, but most of the time it just doesn't really matter for me.
All right, Apollo, final question. You guys are in a great spot to make a run for that first position to be in the top playoff spots. What are you guys kind of working on right now? What are you gunning for? Are there things you need to kind of fix first, or are you guys actually pushing for that top spot?
uh, we're working for playoffs. I think we're not going for the top spot.
Okay.
But yeah, playoffs, and I think just in terms of improving, a lot of it has to do with our picks and bans. I think because. Yeah, I think picks and bans is a huge problem with ours because like on purple side we lose a lot. I think it just has to do with our pick and ban. But other than that, mainly just on stage performance. I think we perform generally better in scrims. This week is excluded in that. But yeah, so I think those are the two main things: like pick and ban and like just being more confident and like aggressive on stage.
Awesome. Well, it seems to be happening in the plays. Another victory for you guys in a 2-0 week to start things off to go for that run. Now we're going to throw it to the analyst desk to break down the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Riv. Envy with the victory here in 2-1 fashion over EchoFox to push themselves to 7-5. And I think Apollo keyed in on something very important here. Again, that developing playoff picture. We've got 2-game separation between them and Dignitas versus the top 3 teams in CLG, Immortals, and TSM. Now, with Cloud9 slotting in as the 6th team currently. And then there's a fair number of separation between them and the other 4. So they've positioned themselves very well now with this 2-0 weekend here, looking at these final 3 weeks of LCS play.
Right. I mean, they're still going to have to play a couple good teams, but you're expecting, if you go 500 from here on out, you can basically project yourself to make playoffs, potentially even lose a little bit. So in this sense, they've set themselves up tremendously well this weekend for their chances of actually getting to play a little bit more into the playoffs. And then if they do well there, gauntlet run.
Now, within this game, we saw EchoFox return to the roster that they had in game 1 that they were successful with. And of course, with that came a little bit, again, of a switch up in champion select, just in terms of, what they prioritize with that set of 5 specifically. But also very interesting to hear from Apollo, how do you deal with that as a team? We had those questions going into each next game of the series is what is Envy doing in this 5 minutes, 10 minutes that they have to readjust based on the roster they've been given from EchoFox?
And yeah, you heard him say that it can be tough sometimes. You don't really know if the pick ban that you're preparing in the downtime between games is going to hold up when you find out, oh, there's 3 other random dudes sitting over there now. Like we have to throw everything out the window.
Right.
And I think what you heard him say was you're just going to have to do your best. You throw more general bans like Zach, Kate, Elise. If you look at those first 3 bans, all OP, champions, right, standard bans, and then you draft your champions and you play your style to the best of your ability.
There's something to be said for preparation, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to beat these players, right? If you want to be the best team in North America, then it doesn't matter which version of EchoFox comes out onto the Rift. You've got to be able to beat them. Same with TSM if they were running subs. Same with C9 with Ray or Impact. In all these situations, you need to prove that regardless of who gets swapped in, we have the tools from a player standpoint to beat you.
And I think you can see that this game, that was mostly the case. From basically the first minute, Envy controlled the entire game. It was not an explosive game. They didn't dominate them, but they kind of ground them out. They got small leads. They took objectives. They made a top dive onto Looper. They got that kill. They started taking turrets. And you see it did take a little bit of a time to get rolling. Yeah. But they were grabbing objectives during that time. They were stealing red buffs away. And then finally, when they got that first kill, it started that kind of downhill trend.
Well, and that is the picture of control. As you mentioned, you use that word control, and I love that word here because as almost the entirety of that goal graph is the color red, it showcases that at every moment in the game, even if the gold lead wasn't necessarily spiking a little bit more, they weren't conceding many advantages, if at all. And then once those Baron buffs start coming through, once again, we see Envy's ability now as a team to group up as 5 and push objectives, something that was lacking in their spring split play.
And I will say that first Baron buff that they got was a little suspect because it ended up in a 50-50 situation, 10 men alive on the Rift, no one dead, no man advantage as you make this
Rare
play,
that happens.
and both junglers in the pick going for the smite. So it was definitely not a controlled situation that we're kind of used to seeing when it's Pyrion with Taliyah on Envy. So that part was, there's still obvious signs of improvement for what Envy needs to work on here. But like you said, once they got that Baron buff, the game, the lead ballooned exponentially.
Very much so. Player of the game going to Apollo, who we had got to speak to just a moment ago, landing a lot of clutch arrows. I mean, again, he has been vocal this split in particular about his veteran status. Now, he's been a veteran for a fairly long period of time, but he's been critical of himself and saying that in the past, I have fallen short as a veteran, where I needed to be a leader, where I needed to step up and make plays and be the louder voice on the team and direct my younger guys. I think he's filling that role out a bit better now.
Yeah, anyone who's been playing competitively since about Season 2 is going to have a lot of experience, and he's had this transformation a little bit, this split in particular, where it's not just about, I know what I need to do to get my own, make sure I don't die and do these things, but how can I actually snowball with my team, and what does my team need out of me so I can push my lead the furthest?
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for our final game of the day. So with that game in the books, let's go ahead and take a look at which players really shined in our week of games. Bjergsen, Altec, and Pobelter each stepped up for their respective teams by picking up 2 POGs each, while Adrian, Ray, and Damonte all picked up their first honors in week 6. Of course, these guys kind of showing up for the first time.
Yeah.
Now, in the wake of his big week, Bjergsen has pulled ahead in the standings with 7 accolades to his name, followed by the likes of Dardoch, Nisqy, and LirA with 6 POGs each. Does anything here shock you on the POGs list? Is there anyone who's not there that you expect to be there, or anyone who is there that you are actually surprised is?
I would have to say Dardoch kind of being amongst the top. When you think about CLG this season, you're thinking Darshan and you're thinking Huhi, but the guy on CLG with the most is actually Dardoch.
Yeah.
And he's starting to split time now even. So it is a little surprising. He hasn't been awful this split, so it's not like, oh my God, how did he get these? He has had good games, but he does feel like almost fourth fiddle, but behind, you include Afro on that list.
Speaks to the volatility of the player, right?
Right.
Again, when he goes off, when he has a big performance, it's very clear that he is the catalyst for victory. On the flip side, he can be a detriment at times, or it just, is done by somebody else and he's playing that more supportive role. Again, as you mentioned, now splitting time with Omar God as well, it makes it even more impressive that he is still so high up on that list. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how the teams ended their weekend. First place, all tied up between TSM, Immortals, and Counterlogic Gaming, while Team Dignitas and Team Envy end their weekend in 4th, leaving Cloud9 in 6th place. Kind of surprised to be saying that after their spring split finish and even going to Rift Rivals and whatnot. We'll be back again next week, though, with more LCS action. Friday kicks off with Cloud9 versus Phoenix One. We'll see which of those two teams comes out on top, followed by Lorlo and Team Liquid facing Seraph and Team Envy. Now, you took to Twitter this weekend to call out the plays that made your jaw drop, and here are a few of the ones we wanted to share, brought to you by Acer. First up, Ancient Relic pointed out the beautiful Gnar ult from Hauntzer in his series versus P1. Take a look.
Man may be caught here though.
The fight.
It's caught, a special in, but good buff for them. Like double gets him out now. The hook landing back in onto Zig. Hauntzer's gonna dive into the team. Not oh my God! Oh, and up Bjergsen takes down Zig. TSM gonna wipe the floor.
They're going. I'm gonna flash. Bro. J4, bro. No close. I'm on J4. Kalista.
Kalista's dead. Kogi.
We win.
Looked like a 4-man ult. All 5 people were there, but somebody went down right after that. So, but I mean, very impressive ult from him. That fight in and of itself was crazy explosive, at least in the context of that game as well.
Right, and I like the calmness in the sense that you heard. Like, they had a single target that they wanted to focus down. It wasn't like, oh my God, huge ult. It was Kalista the whole way through. Even though you're hitting a huge multi-man ultimate, keep calm and focus on your next objective.
Yeah, Hauntzer, I mean, he's always been a top performer in NA, in his lane. The likes of a Gnar pick bodes very well for him because it gives him so much control and so many options in how he wants to play the game. Up next, Hollywood Decline couldn't resist the rhyme. Before Quadra high, after Quadra bye. Let's see this one.
Moon had to go out there. He only has 30% HP.
Moon's incredibly low. They're actually going to go for the fight. Golden Glow almost goes down immediately. He drops. The Elder Drake goes down. It's grabbed by a Nori. A huge pickup if they can take down FlyQuest, stopping them from getting the triple Drake. High is going to be the next to go down. Piglet's on the outside with a Nori. It's enough of a tank to let Piglet get away, but what can FlyQuest get out of this?
I'm hitting. I'm going. Stick on her. Sinjo's dead. Sinjo's dead. I'm going. No. We're fine. I shield you. 2 seconds. Okay, come back. We can fight. Dogma's 1 HP. There's no QSS. No flash. That's not bad. Yeah, nice. Oh, it's too bad. The Elder's gone. That's good.
Talk about the difference between those two comms. We were saying how nice it was to hear their single focus out of TSM. There you see FlyQuest all over the
A
place.
little bit more disjointed, but you can hear High's voice coming through on the backside of that, calling out which targets are going down and who to focus next. But at the end of the day, performance on Orianna in those late game team fights, it's so crucial that you're hitting your spells. He did it there, wins them the game. That's all you can ask. Finally, Doublelift showed some A-tier ADC chops in his 2v1 at the end of a fight just today. Let's take another look.
Trying to get away, but it's a double kill for Piglet. Likely wanting to make it a triple, except he's not even the one responsible. Doublelift with the outplay! Jumping away from that! Dodges the Justice Punch! And they die together!
I mean, I could watch that multiple times. We heard him talk in his interview about how he doesn't feel he's stacking up in the laning phase still and has work to do there, and that might quite possibly be true, but there is something to be said for the way that he executes around team fights.
I mean, he just has this sense for where the threat is coming from. Even before that moment, he was dodging out on Gragas barrels that were coming in on the ground. He has this unnatural ability to just avoid skill shots in very cluttered situations.
Well, there you have it. Great performance out of him. Now, don't forget to tweet your big plays all weekend long, and we won't forget to share them at the end of the weekend for future weeks, of course. Now, for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and make sure to stick around for the show where Jap, myself, and Kobe will be wrapping up the week on NALCS tonight. Otherwise, we'll see you next week for more North American LCS. Good night.
NA greater than EU, baby!
Going to peel off Darshan, who's looking forward. Hui blows up the Sona, but Wild Turtle still doing a decent amount of damage. Donna with a massive play that Nard's going to move it in. Hui grabs an instant triple kill out of the play. A little while longer, Hui going to try and burn down Moon. He goes down, and Turtle going to be the next target. That's going to be effectively the ace. Alive for now, and Damonte slithers away until he is dumped right back down into the dirt. Flame looking about like a pincushion, but Mash, the stun comes through, the equalizer goes down, some health bars disappearing, but it's actually Fox who goes down first, and IMT will claim a 2-0. Been able to fall, but Doublelift gets the first kill. Maybe now looking for the reset as Bjergsen funking around trying to clean this up. Mike Young on the Thresh, gonna get back in towards Zig to take him down. There's a triple kill.
Hey, pick up the burst arrow. Pick it, get it.
Okay,
oh shit. Oh shit. No! Please, you got it? Yeah, I got it. Oh, good job.
Ryu goes down, and this is going to be a whitewash Doublelift forward onto Expert. We're going to get the pick. The A is almost completed, and a very strong sweep for TSM. Ooh, going to find damage on the Keen, flashing away. He's still going to go down. Who he gets the damage. Tough Nuda with the big absolute zero. Going to put COG's health bars just that. 3 kills picked up already. 6 are going to drop as well. A triple kill for Altex there. The attack in, the quadra kill for the new Team Dignitas bot lane starter. 30-minute victory. Team Dignitas 2-0. Possible again as Contract gets caught out right as the Elder Drake fight is going to be happening, but C9 decides to go for it anyway. Smoothie going to be taken low, but Sneaky's down first. Smoothie joins him, and against all expectations, Envy will 2-0 Cloud9.
Not today, Dash. Not today.
You know nothing.
Ooh, spoiler alert anyway.
Yep. Gotta watch out for that gravity field. It's put between the team. Whoa, inside the base! Double turret dive from P1! They're giving Dignitas the same medicine, and they say, we want sub 24 minutes! Kill going over to Mike Young. I say on Mike Young from Adrian as they start to wipe down P1 now. They found their targets, a triple kill coming in for Keen. Winions for the 3rd game in Dignitas.
Getting the most crucial kill of the fight. Expected to hold the front line, but the chase through is in. Orianna starting to go on a rampage. You're getting 3 already in this fight. Slowed down by Bard. Kill on Ole, maybe not going to happen. The kill's not there for Cloud9. Instead, the shutdown's coming through. Mortals taking down Cloud9 and ending the week in 1st place. Careful jump over the wall, and Bjergsen has kill number 1. Looking to make it 2, finds the kill on the Piglet. Matt's going to be going down next. A double kill for Bjerg as Lorlo gets collapsed on by the rest of the team. Golden Blue runs for his life, likely wanting to make it a triple, except he's not even the one responsible. Doublelift with the outplay, jumping away from that, dodges the Justice Punch, and they die together.
TL can't close it out, and TSM will take it 2-0.